Hey everybody, how are y'all doing today? Woo! Saturday of AirVenture, thank y'all so much for being here today. I have an awesome panel. I am so excited about this one. We have so much talent up here on this stage today. And, we're going to make this panel, we want to answer all of y'all's questions, okay? So I'm going to ask a couple of my questions, brief introductions, that sort of thing, and then we're going to pass the microphone to y'all. So have your questions ready, and let's get into it. Let's jump right into it, guys. All right, Valerie, you want to start us off? Introduction, who are you, where you're from, your channel, what type of content you produce?
Valerie Topless, found very talented on YouTube and Instagram, just for Facebook. We're from South Florida, and Seekers is a small community. Airport is just southwest of Palm Beach. It's a rest trip of 1 mile, so a flight of air, 58 DC out of it.
I'm Steve. I have a channel called Flight Shops, and I just create content of flying whatever I get my hands on. Most recently, I got to build an RV-14 and aircraft, which we just got finished in time last year to get here. And it's here now with its new paint. And just started document the process of different types of training. I've done a bunch of training with Jason over here. And warbird, flying, tailwheel, instrument, the whole thing. Just a regular pilot, learning how to do different stuff.
Awesome, my name is Jason Miller. I'm a career flight instructor and teaching flying for the last 20 years out in California. Kind of specialize in instrument training and mountain flying. My channel is The Finer Points, which is all about flight training, obviously. And I'm on some platforms as Learn the Finer Points. I'm on learnthefiner.com.
My name is Chris Palmer. I'm from Thorne, Alaska. Got a little high school there, a YouTube channel called Angle Attack. Also on social by the same name. And responsible for Alaska flying, instructing a lot like Jason here. And yeah, that's about it. Online ground school. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell.
I'm Josh Flowers.
Okay, cool. I'm Josh Flowers from Austin, Texas. My YouTube channel is Aviation 101 and also aviation101.com. I'm a CFII. I fly mostly single-engine, light single-engine airplanes. My dad and I share a Cessna 172 that we pretty much restored. It's a 1976 model. We bought it kind of as a piece of junk, and we've made it really beautiful now. I try to film my flights just kind of as they come. I travel a lot for work and bounce all over the country and try to deliver a nice cross between cinematic, beautiful destinations with educational tidbits and sharing little things that I learn or screw up or things I think aren't covered well in private pilot training, stuff like that.
And how long have each of y'all been on YouTube creating content? Josh, you want to start us off and give that?
12 years.
12 years, wow.
12 years.
Math is hard. 2011. 11 years there.
2007, so what is that, 15 years?
Yeah, I'm about 10 years.
Just started in 2020.
Wow. So what are some of the most, let's jump back to when y'all first started creating your accounts. What were some of the most important things that y'all learned right off the bat when it comes to creating aviation content on YouTube? Valerie, you want to go? And we can go this one.
Yeah, well, I would say I'm always trying to create content that I want to watch. So I'm trying to build a story, basically from an introduction, and I always think about showing how safe I am while I'm flying, using checklists. That's kind of my routine, making sure that I'm displaying from the beginning to the end until I take the keys off the thing.
So for me, I don't do it linearly so much. I'm more in choosing debrief, learning nuggets to share. So in the early days, honestly, it was just sharing my debriefs, and I didn't care if it got views. I just started off making some content that I thought was interesting, and some of my friends thought was interesting. I learned something, so I shared it. And that's kind of how it started for me, so it was just authentic learning nuggets within the context of aviation.
Yeah, and for me, I'm out on real lessons with real students a lot of times on my channel. So I think one tip for aviation content is you have to accept the fact up front that maybe 60% of what you try to record is not going to get recorded. If I had $1 for every time I put 2 cameras up, one above me, one here, and I said, okay, let's go and start this lesson, and then I hear that little meaning the camera shut off, right, as we're going down the runway, I'd be rich, right? So that happens a lot of the time. You just have to get used to that. You can't be going after water bottles or cameras or whatever happens in the airplane. You just gotta let it go. Make sure you're flying first and foremost. And then the second thing I think that comes to mind is I was going to make a joke and say, how do you start a YouTube channel? We call Steve Thorne. Because I think really collaborations with all these folks up here taught me a lot. Like, I'm not kidding about Steve, who's been super generous with his knowledge, and he's a filmmaker and he knows. But Chris is an awesome cinematographer and photographer and has talked through different camera solutions that he's used. So like, if you guys know somebody in your world that's doing it already, don't be afraid to reach out. Like, sharing is part of it.
Yeah, I learned a lot of the same things. Josh and I did a collaboration flying in Alaska, and now I own some of the same cameras that Josh does. So he and I had a good time doing that. I think pretty quickly, for me, because I was so used to filming and kind of the camera stuff, it seems to be a perpetual issue. But for me now, or even then, it was what happens after you capture the footage. That's hard to edit, keep consistency, tell a story, even capture a story, because you're just capturing what's going on in the airplane. Sometimes that doesn't fit a full story. So that's the most difficult thing for me to come up with. That's been how it is the entire time, from the beginning to now.
I think there's a couple of main points that I learned. One of them was right off the bat, which is I think kind of what you're asking about. The other one took me some time to figure out. The first thing that I really started to learn, I started filming my flights during my private pilot flight training under the supervision of my flight instructor. And I learned immediately that this cannot be a distraction. And I have had cameras on a suction cup mount come detached from the windshield because they just had a bad seal and it slowly lost air. It'll fall off and bounce off my leg into my lap on the takeoff roll, or like the camera pointing off the windshield. Or I've had, just like Jason was saying, you hear the beep over your shoulder, the camera just quit. It's like getting to one of the most difficult points of the flight. But I just write it off in my mind. I'm like, I don't even care about that. That's gonna happen. I'll deal with footage later. Not a distraction. So that's the first, I think, one of the most important things I learned right off the bat. The second thing that actually took me a couple of years to realize is that you have to be really careful, and I had many conversations with Steve about this early on. You have to be really careful about how you portray yourself. And as a student pilot, coming up in aviation, it's like learning a new language. It's like, especially as a student pilot, you don't know what you don't know, and you can easily put something out there that looks really bad. And of course, the internet will not hesitate to tell you so. So I had to learn that over the course of a couple of years. So those are the most important points for me.
Those are some great tips, great suggestions. So I think everybody here is so used to seeing y'all's beautiful final products. So can y'all talk a little bit about the behind the scenes? Y'all kind of touched on it a little bit, but what's going on behind the camera, after filming's over? Can y'all talk about some of the commitment and the dedication and how time consuming some of this truly can be? Josh, you want to start us out this time?
The glorious part of what you see on YouTube, flying to beautiful destinations and exploring these amazing places and getting shots, it's incredibly adventurous and amazing. That's like under 10% of the work. The rest of it happens after we're done filming, when you get on the computer, and that's where you spend the next 90% of the time for that particular video doing work. So it's really easy for it to look, we made it look glorious, and we try to edit it to look like that. And it is fun, it's amazing. But that's only 10% of it that actually happens like that. The rest of it is actually structuring content in post-production.
It's pretty scrappy in the beginning, because any extra time you have in your life is spent editing. You kind of learn the craft and learn the workings behind the scenes. First, I've been editing a long time, so it just kind of fits, but then again, it's still a lot of work. It's just time-consuming work. But I think for a lot of us now, it's a business. I hire an editor now. I just don't have time. I have too much stuff to do. I have a little family. So it's very much a business now. It's just a lot of work, like Josh said. 1 hour and 10 is the fun part, and the rest is preparing a story, getting shots right, correcting color, and posting it, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and just to sort of underscore that point, I started with an audio podcast back in 2005, and the podcast is like 10 minutes long. It took me about 8 hours to make, and that's audio. So if you're looking at like a 10-minute video, it's probably 3 days like that, so 24 hours, or you can fit that into your life. And for a long time, like all these guys have said, it's almost not sustainable. For a long time, it was my second job. So when my kids were real little, I fly all day, come home, have dinner, then drink a Red Bull, and go to work for another 7 or 8 hours. Right? You're up till midnight or 1 in the morning. But anyway, I think what I could add to this part of the conversation is something that Steve over here at Flight Chops is really good with, and to sort of set the bar for the rest of us. But I think it's important to kind of aviation bounce your content off other pilots before you go live on YouTube, especially if it's got training components in it, like mine, Steve's, or like any of ours, really. So, just to make sure you're putting solid stuff out there, you're not putting anything out there that you really don't need to say, because after 24 hours of editing, you can sometimes lose the forest for the trees. So it's like a phase check. I really recommend bouncing it off somebody you respect, a CFI or somebody, and then so getting a stamp of approval, and then putting it out there.
Yeah, that's a good point. For me, I was going to say data management is something these guys didn't touch on yet, but everything else they said obviously applies. But for instance, here, I've shot a lot of really cool content already. Barely have time to manage the data. Cars, 5, 6 cameras rolling, trying to not lose track of what you backed up. I say out of the thousands of cards that I've shot, I've lost 3 or 4. We bought that heartbreaking moment where you realize the money shot on that main cam was the one I just pressed format on. And wait, I caught up. Or worse, you get into the suite and you see the folder labeled and it's empty because it was late that night and I thought it was going to and it didn't. So data management has been a big challenge because I'll work with 5 or 6 cameras on a single flight in some cases and then other B-roll and other things. But absolutely what Jason just said, working into the rough cut stages, the phase check, or whatever you might call it, the bounce it off the mentor. I've got several different consultants that I trust that I have look at myself, because it's entirely possible that something that was completely legal could end up looking illegal, or just you miss something when you edit, you remove some context, and it ends up looking bad when it wasn't. And it's important to make sure you catch that, just want to put that example, or put yourself in a position to be looked at by the regulators. Nobody needs that.
I always try to have backup, so I carry about seven cameras on the plane. I have a belly plane, I have underwing, and you never know if your audio is going to work. As you mentioned, a lot of times these cameras will shut down, but you still have to fly. You have to forget about these cameras that are rolling. Just have to keep going. My goal is always to have a backup as an audio, so I can pinpoint anything that I have and just lining up. And that's the hard part, is taking the time to line up all the cameras after one shut down, the other one shut down. That's definitely time consuming, but when you enjoy it, it's fun. You see what you've done right, what you could do better. It's a good way to debrief, like Steve was mentioning earlier. But you definitely have to enjoy that. It takes a lot of time, a lot of evenings if you're not doing that full time.
It's always a scary and exciting moment, right? When you get all your footage, you put it on the computer, and then you see if the camera actually captured it.
Yeah.
Is that you're getting the heart sink feeling, or you're really excited because you got a shot? So.
Right. Or you got all the shots with the audio cable came out, it was just no audio.
When I was out there filming with you in Utah,
That-
yeah, 4 days of gorgeous footage in the airplane, no intercom audio, because the jack was about that far out from the recorder. Didn't catch it.
So to that point, by the way, I run 2 audio cables now all the time. So I would not leave it to single point failure in the audio.
Well, enough of my questions. We want to hear y'all's questions. So, Josh, I'm going to ask you to steal your mic, and then I'm going to start running around and y'all can share. That would be awesome. All right, let's dive right into it. I think we got about 30 minutes for questions. What's your name and where are you from?
Most of the time doing editing,
What tools do you use for that? What software? You might have to repeat that, sorry, the name of it.
What software do you use for editing?
Final Cut Pro?
Yeah, same.
Final Cut Pro.
I wish I knew how to use Final Cut Pro. Premiere.
So let's see. Let's see what our chairs are.
Who's next?
I'm gonna wait for Final Cut Pro.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
What's your name? Where are you from?
Hi, Stephanie from Maryland, Pennsylvania. So my question is, when you guys are first starting your channels and you are, whether you're documenting your journey of learning or whatever it may be, how do you identify your audience and then reach them with your storytelling? Do you use different hashtags? Like, what has worked for you?
That's actually a real challenge in a lot of ways. Like for me, the content always came from actual flight lessons, right? So something interesting will happen on flight. It always does. I'm going to do 2-3 flights a day, and I'm making a little note on that thing that happened 30 minutes into the second flight. That's going to be my story. And I go in with a laser strike approach, right? Like here's something never to do when you're flying steep turns. So a lot of it is built into the fact that it would have to be people searching steep turns or whatever. But that's a pretty small subset, right? Like, so if I want to like grow the channel, the things that have done really well for my channel are reaction videos, which are a little bit more like, I don't want to use the word clickbaity, but they're not as substantive as the stuff I'd really like to make. But I'll do one every now and again if I see an opportunity to have a real teachable moment, and it'll create lift for the channel. And then once you have that lift, the algorithm starts to pick it up a little bit for you. If people are selecting your videos more, then the algorithm will recommend it more. But it's a balance between keeping the core fans happy with the really substantive content, and then sometimes putting out a video that you just feel is going to be a wider net. That and then collaborations have been huge. Like all of these folks up here, with the exception of Scott, we haven't collaborated yet, but we're going to. Other than that, I've collaborated with Flight Shops, Angle Attack, Aviation 101, and collaborations are always a great way to let my audience know who they are, let their audience know who I am, and we'll fly together and we'll both put out a video.
There are also the videos you think are going to be amazing, you're really passionate about it, and then they face plant.
Yeah.
Alright, who's next? Sorry, excuse me. What's your name? Where are you from?
Hi, my name is Greg. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona. How has your pre-flight changed to incorporate all these things you talked about in terms of like cameras and like audio and all the rest that go along with it to make sure you do the best to try to capture it?
I can jump in on that. So early on, I really made a checklist setting to separate the production side. Oftentimes, the more epic things that I've done, I'm not PIC, being a private pilot, I'm usually being trained. So I can stretch into the like, I'm still setting up a camera while they're finishing a checklist world. But I've actually even learned that's not great. So I like to back up the checklist, especially I found sometimes I'm working with someone that's excited to be doing it, and I forget that that might be distracting them. So I've actually changed it so even when I'm not PIC, I still finish all my camera related junk separately, early, and set it and forget it, and I can pay attention to making sure that when they do the run, they actually change tanks and so on. So some airplanes I don't even know the airplane, right? I show up, get a chance to fly something cool, but I wouldn't want to have to explain it to my family or someone else explain to my family that they crashed because they had fuel off, but they took off because they're both excited and nobody made sure the fuel valve was on. So yeah, separating it out into its own checklist is kind of what I've done, and same thing Jason said, is that once you know it, it's off limits to you touch it.
Who's next?
Real quick too on that pre-flight point, I'll just throw this out there. I had a student come out on one of our, we do these trips for pilots every year, and he introduced a procedure to me that I think is really great for all pilots, but he takes a minute after everything's all done, like whatever, the pre-flight's done, the cameras are ready, whatever, we sit down in the airplane, he asks me if I'm ready to go, I say I'm ready to go, and at that point he starts a timer for 1 minute, and we just sort of sit there in silence for 1 minute, thinking about flying. And it's really powerful. If you've never tried it, try it. I promise after that minute, you'll feel like you'll have left all those stresses behind you.
What's your name? Where are you from?
Raymond George, Abilene, Texas. Check 6 Aviation, and I'm proud to say that I know at least 4 of you. Hello. So my question is, how do you handle the flying, especially for Steve, who has flown with multiple people over his flying journey? How do you handle people who are just like, hey, I don't have time for all this camera setup, because that was my experience yesterday, or actually Thursday morning, taking a demo in an RV10, and I really wanted to record it, but the guys just like, no, this is the demo play.
There's sometimes, especially having flight school and having students in and out pretty quickly, and even beyond that, just fun flying, where I actually don't want cameras on anymore. Because I think all of us at the heart, we're aviators and we want to just enjoy it sometimes. Sometimes you put cameras on the plane every single flight, it's work. You know that you have to offload that footage at the very least, even if you never do anything with it. But sometimes you just want to fly, and so I'm a creator, so I'll still get out my phone and I'll shoot a couple things, but sometimes I just go without putting any cameras on.
Yeah, me too.
I think the question also was the person you're flying is saying, I don't have time for your setup. But my experience with the opposite is usually that my setup, they allow to distract. And like, I'm going to go do your thing. I'm going to do my walk. I'm going to get my cameras going. You do your walk around. I'm going to stay out of your way. I'm pretty fast. It needs to be fast. I usually build in time, so that isn't a problem for me. My problem is the opposite, where I recognize that they're paying attention to what I'm doing when they should be doing their job. I don't know the checklist is here, I don't know what the walk arounds are. So in some cases, I don't plan on showing the walk around. I've made like, you know what, show me the walk around. And I stop what I'm doing. If I can tell that my setup has been focused or fixated, I don't want that. So I would rather my stuff is entirely secondary. We're going flying, and what we get.
Yeah, and to that point, so you're asking about if you're flying with multiple people or different people. Some people can get impatient in terms of time with the whole setup. I mean, for me, when I'm setting up 6 cameras and power to the cameras, audio recorder, making sure stuff's in the right place, where it's not going to vibrate, etc., we're looking at like 45 minutes to set all that stuff up. And I gotta make sure all the cables are out of the way and nothing's going to interfere. And people can certainly get impatient with that. And if you're just in that situation, you just got to pick your battles and do what's going to be best for the safety of flight. And there's been plenty of times where I've just said, okay, I'm going to mix 4 cameras and we're just flying 2. That's all I got time to set up for. If you have the ability to set it up ahead of time, for example, we went out to the seaplane base earlier this week and we flew in a 206 on floats, and we were going to film it and everything. I addressed it in the email when we were coordinating this ahead of time and said, look, I'm going to need an hour to set up cameras and to make sure that we're good to go. And that, I knew deep down I really only needed like 20, 25 minutes, but I allowed that extra time so we would not even remotely be rushed. And then we ended up having a bunch of time. We went early. We even had time to do a really good-looking interview in front of the cameras, in front of the plane. It was great. So if at all possible, I just recommend, put your timeline out there and give yourself way more time than you need.
Yeah, this is a value factor. Anything else, Erica? You lie, but else time you lie.
But I like to add something else. Most of the time, if I don't fly with my husband Eric, who's over there by the speaker, he's my co-pilot. If I don't fly with Eric and I fly with a friend of ours, they always know in advance that we're going to be filming the flight. So they are aware, prepared, and I usually do all my setup the day before, so everything is already done, ready to go.
She's Brandon.
I'm trying. What's your name? Where are you from?
My name is Jim. EAA from Kansas City, New York. So many questions I can ask, but I'll just ask 2. What was the name of the editing software again that you all use?
Final Cut Pro.
Okay. And
Premiere, Adobe Premiere.
my other question is, how do you monetize your channel? Do you actually make much money off of your individual channels?
Or I'll start. For me, I'm still really small, so the money is not there yet. So probably when I get as big as these guys, I'll see some money coming in, but right now, it's not lucrative.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of us have supplement, like, so the money you're gonna make from YouTube in a small world like aviation is not gonna be significant. You know, even when you're a big, relatively big channel, like any of us sitting up here, the YouTube tracks are not gonna be all that significant. So a lot of people have supplemental things. I think almost everybody up here has a Patreon. You guys know what Patreon is? But it's a way for folks like you to just kind of support and say, like, I like this creator, I like what that creator's doing. I'm gonna give them $10 a month or whatever you feel good about. It's not, and then people put up like bonus content. Various people, like I like my bonus content is like Q&As with me, kind of instructors, and like FaceTime with me. Everybody's got different little perks.
Yeah, I mean, so, yeah, Patreon, so I started the channel as an escape from my TV work that I was not happy with, frankly. I was getting so much reality TV work and film that I was finding unfulfilling. So I just started making client content that I wanted to see, didn't care if it was monetized, and it didn't even turn on, you could add revenue for the first 4 years. But Patreon, someone came to me early on and said, I'd love to help support what you're doing. And I was like, I don't know if you need your credit card number. That's actually how Patreon works. And the same person said, there's a thing that is that. And literally, it takes a small group of 4 people that are liking what we do and pay for a thing that's free just to support it. And we put out exclusive stuff that's the raw, uncut stuff when I'm editing. I can say, here's the whole flight in the Beavers, like an hour and a half long. It's awesome as far as I'm concerned, but I'm not going to publish 9-minute videos. But there is the Patreon, and they can help me sort of pick what I put in. And I still, even now, I started Patreon in 2014. It's still the single largest support pillar. And I'm working with companies like Ford Flight and Bose and Advanced Aircraft and Garmin. It's still the single largest support pillar, so I do recommend everybody if you like our stuff, pretty much all of us have a Patreon. Check it out. It makes a huge difference. It's also really great way to engage with the work community because a lot of times we just can't answer everything on all the different networks, but we're going obviously pay a lot of our attention to Patreon because it's like a small core group that are literally supporting you, actually financially supporting you. So it's a huge part of keeping us together.
Just to expand on that slightly, so YouTube, you have millions of followers to actually make money on YouTube. And Steve mentioned it, the aviation companies have really jumped in and supported people, content creators specifically in this endeavor. So I know Steve mentioned a few viewers, I'm also sponsored by Ford Flight Department, AOPA actually too. So a big shout out to them because these companies are stepping up. And I kind of joke that my sponsorship money goes to my editor just to keep the train running. And that's true to a certain extent. So it's really, really helpful, and I think it's worth mentioning those folks.
Yeah, and you know, and just for you all to realize that supporting those companies that are supporting us or supporting us in Patreon, it does keep it all possible. You know, like without all of that, I know we probably say this in our videos, but without the corporate sponsorship and without the Patreon, I wouldn't be making videos. You probably wouldn't be making videos.
What's your name and where you from?
Eric from Minneapolis. So you guys just kind of spoke to this, but at what point is it a good idea to start that Patreon or just start off right away? Or I guess any thoughts or suggestions?
It's not a discovery platform, right? So it's kind of recommended that you already have a built-in community because the conversion rate is 1 to 3%. So I joined when I had 10,000 YouTube subscribers, which today's standards is quite low, but I wasn't very dedicated to 10,000, so I had a pretty successful launch. But I would recommend starting in today's numbers. I don't know, I would even say less than 50K subs for YouTube would be worth launching, but what do you guys think?
I kind of have a different take on it. I think for me, I think about it from a sort of a strategy, try to be efficient perspective because like this content can take over your life. Like we're all saying, like it's you want to spend time with your family. You don't want to be working 80 hours a week for too long, right? You're gonna have to put that in if you're serious about starting a channel. You're gonna have to do that for a little while. But like I strategize Patreon up front. Like I do like sort of what Steve does. I say, okay, if I'm going out on a flight lesson and I'm gonna write down that at minute 30 something cool happened, maybe my patrons will get the whole lesson. So I'll just put the whole lesson on Patreon. I'll edit what I was gonna edit, so now there's just a clip for YouTube that's short and concise, and then I'm doing my Q&As once a month. I would try to think of my own lifestyle. Like how can I build a sustainable content production lifestyle where I'm not having to do double the work for Patreon, but I'm giving all of you folks something you want to see that you might be willing to pay $5 or $10 for that's valuable, but it's also in my content production flow so that it's possible and possible to sustain it. And so for that, you start at the beginning. I guess one person might be interested in all that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I just think I would wait until I had enough people to want to have it reach, but fair enough, they definitely don't make it a thing that adds work. And that's what I constantly gamers rock fest last year, and I'm doing anyway.
What's your name? Where are you from?
My name is Mike. I'm from Dayton, South Africa. So I guess my question is, how important, firstly, what level of your subscribers are international? How much appeal do you have to a global audience? And how important is it to build a global audience?
Great, everybody.
Repeat the question?
Yeah. You can repeat it, yeah.
So my question is, how much of your YouTube subscribers come from international audience? In other words, how important is it to have a global reach? And do you particularly aim to get a global reach? I mean, given general aviation in the States is so big, I mean, is that only your primary market, or are you deliberately aiming to go for a global reach?
I think about 65% of my audience, and I'm just talking about YouTube subscribers, that's where I see the best analytics coming through. About 65% is from the US. And then from there, the next biggest chunk of the audience is Canada, right, and our next door neighbors. And then the rest is, I think it goes like UK, and then I believe it's South Africa for myself. And then it just kind of tapers down from there.
I love that you do that. Right off the top of your head.
I was just looking at it 2 days ago.
I'd like to say that I enjoy watching this Italian guy, Vito Marnetti. You guys know that guy? I don't know what his name is. But I'm appreciative on this side of the pond that there are global creators. I'm not sure what my stats are. I don't have the same Josh, but I think it's great. Anyway.
Who's next? What's your name and where are you from?
Carolyn C.J. Matthews from Las Vegas, Nevada. Quick question on sponsorship. Was that initiated by you all, or was it initiated by the company who's representing you, all that kind of stuff? Because sponsorship isn't just as easy as like, hey, here's the back.
Yeah, I mean, it's evolved for me. I remember in 2005 coming to shows like this, trying to explain to people what a podcast was. So it's a lot of banging on doors and getting to know people, but it seems like Chris has said, the industry is onto it now. And if you have an audience, there are companies that are bold enough, like AOPA and Forthlight and Garmin and Bose and whoever else is willing to put their money where their mouth is and say, you guys are doing great work, keep it going, and put our brand on there and want to jump in the wagon with us. You know, like Chris said, those companies should be supported. And I think at this point, it's pretty straightforward. Like there are marketing coordinators, and if you've got the audience built, they'll look at your stuff if you can get through. When you come to shows like this, you can meet them face to face.
I will add that too, that those of you who new to aviation might not realize this, but aviation is a 1 degree of separation in history. And there's one person that knows everybody in your network, essentially. So that being said, I came here for the first time in 2015 to AirVenture, and I was barely starting to trade. And ended up becoming about relationships with people I met and the content and the consistency in which I did. So at the end of the day, it's all about relationships, and it's about showing up, putting in the work. You know, I guess being good on screen is part of it. I heard that's only part of it. So yeah, relationships at the end of the day. I will say that sponsorships, it just doesn't happen for everybody. Like, there's a lot involved in that process.
I think I just want to underline what Chris just said too, just in case anyone isn't totally clear, but like if you really are planning on building a business in aviation with a YouTube channel, it's a really, really small world. You've got to be like a good person and a solid person and an honest person, and you've got to be who you claim to be, and you've got to be good to your fellow creators and good to the marketing community. If you're not, you'll find out about it in a week. It's that small.
Yeah, and I'll add kind of my mentality to the mix here about sponsorships and how that's evolved for myself over the years. And what it's really turned into is I don't talk about and/or endorse these companies or products that sponsor me because they have partnered with me or because they pay me. That's not what I'm talking about. They sponsor me because I want to talk about their product. That's where it all begins. And that goes right back to being honest about who you are and what you stand for as an aviator or as a social media influencer or whatever term we're using these days. It's really important to make sure that you are absolutely genuine with your words today.
I think also it's important just to realize that it's difficult to quantify sometimes, and I appreciate some of the companies that are trusting that it's a bit of leap of faith in terms of how marketing works. I was able to tell the Forthlight marketing director when I started working for Forthlight in 2015 that Jason Willis told me Forthlight in 2007, which I did not buy until 2009 because I was not a current pilot between 2005 and 2009. There's no way they would have known that Thorne was making this podcast when I was not current, which one I was flying. That's the first podcast. Learning about this new digital chart that blew my mind because I couldn't stand paper charts. I made that note, I'm going to get this. And my wife got me an iPad and Forthlight in the early days. We got this podcast and they were not doing it. They sponsored him knowing what he was doing was creating. And that's important to get companies to get it.
I will say that it probably was so important. You guys can shake your heads, yes, or no, whatever. But none of us got into this as sponsorships. We got in it because we love to create and we love to fly as well and help people do together. And sponsorships happen naturally because we were around, we were doing things.
And this is really what this is all about. Love for aviation, and we want to share our experiences, and everything comes in. We're going to be consistent as well.
If you go to the home, that's kind of the theory that I'm going with.
Paul, San Diego, you guys are playing with people like 4 cameras. I'm just curious, how do you pilot them? Are they always hardwired, or do you use batteries and do any tricks with that?
Mine are always hardwired. Now they are. They didn't used to be that way. I started out, I first started 02, and then I upgraded to 03s, and there was a company out there that was making some battery packs that extended the battery power to 4 hours, which I was like, holy crap, that's great. So I ran with those for a long time, and I upgraded to 4K, and I found that support for external batteries is kind of tapering off a little bit, and I just felt that it was easier to just run a USB cable to cameras, and I have a bunch of little 20,000 milliamp hour batteries made by Anchor that I totally endorse. Those things. They're great, they're robust, and they can run 2 cameras for 8 hours all day as long as you want, and I make sure that battery power on the cameras is not going to be a problem for me.
I will say that battery power for me is the biggest problem. It's not the data anymore, because you can really the SD cards in 5 to 5 hours. It's powering for 5 hours. That's the difficult part now. And like these guys are saying, you set it and you forget it, it's Wi-Fi too. So if you not just set it and forget it, then it dies out of now.
And for me, time for now is I'm in and out of rental airplanes a lot as a CFI. And so I'll bring maybe an extra set of batteries. I only have one overhead camera and one camera on us if we need it. And it's mostly the overhead camera that I'm using. So if it burns out after an hour and 15 minutes, I pretty much have most of the flight anyway. Maybe I'll start it at takeoff instead of engine start just to get that extra bit of time. So I don't have my
The biggest challenge is overheating. Not really heat. The battery cameras and stuff is overheating. In South Florida, it's really hot. I most of the time turn the batteries, turn the cameras off on cruise, and turn it back on probably 10 minutes before I start my set. That overheating is a big issue for me.
Yeah, I have a big problem with overheating. And I found out that actually it was when I came out to see Jason in Utah, preparing for that trip. It was like late summer in Texas, and the cameras couldn't run for 2 minutes if they had direct sunlight. I found that airflow was the best thing to fix that. Just a little bit of airflow for the camera. Totally fix it. That's a side.
I think we have time for one more question. But if your question isn't answered, right now we're going to have if y'all have time, we're going to invite everybody over to the 39 Lounge right here at the other AOPA tent. Just walk through, and they're going to be there to answer more questions. So
I actually have a bunch of free stuff for anybody that comes over that I can do something for free.
what's your name? Where are you from?
I'm Andy from Larson, Texas. So, just first of all, I've only flying 10 years. I'm a born again flyer, so I'm hopefully looking at the whole thing. I started flying at the time stage of using the new truck, so I guess that'll be 2 hours to use something. So, my question is, what's the next thing that you're working on that's sort of floating about? If it's, for example, more than
Did I catch the question? What's the next thing we're working on? Like,
Yeah, what's the next thing that y'all are working on?
in YouTube or outside of YouTube? Or, yeah, on YouTube. Yeah. Yeah. For me, I think it's really just trying to grow the channel while preserving the authenticity. So really just, I kind of like the rhythm I have with actual short training points that come from real lessons. And figuring out how to do that, and also maybe reach a wider audience as a balance. So, but I'm not sure how to change much. I may actually return to my roots a little more.
So this is a fun idea, an AOPA exclusive. No one else has heard this. My wife is due in 2 weeks with our third child. And I got my silver plate buddy. I haven't opened the box. And I'm going to do an unboxing with her in the airplane while she's getting her first lesson. So that's my fun idea for a video in the future. After that, I have no idea.
So I just, oh gosh, do you want me to explain?
Sure.
So Chris and I love Panda Express. And he can't get it in Homer, Alaska, so he actually has to take an exclusive trip to Anchorage to get parents. So we were talking about getting either this plane or our plane, or maybe both planes. I don't know how we can do that, but we gotta get in Panda suits. We're gonna get a standalone trip to Anchorage to get Panda Express. That's a huge project.
Yeah.
And Panda suits. That's right, yeah.
to be clear, to not create another term Jacob's moment, one of those would be PIC, not in the Panda School. So, since I've already seen that it happened, it'll probably be in soon.
I guess for me, I've got so much stuff that I've shot. I'm in a unique position that I just have to get caught up on editing. Luckily, most of it is evergreen, but I did a whole lot of international travel at GA right before COVID. Our year away, our international year of Canada was supposed to be 2020. I don't know how that went, but I did get through those big trips done. I just haven't edited yet because I didn't feel like it was worth getting talking about international travel because of how challenging it's been. But I've got multiple, like 8 episodes about flying in Sweden. I also did Mexico. I went down to Cherokee States with my family all around Mexico and learned about what it's like to fly there. So I've probably got like 20 episodes worth of things across different things I've shot in the past few years that are not even edited yet.
I have a few videos in the works, but next probably will be our flight on the way here to Oshkosh and flying this arrival. That's going to be the next video.
I'm a little bit sorry. I'm more serious than Chris said I'm more serious than what I'm in the middle of working on. Like Steve, I have a massive backlog, and I need to get back to editing after Oshkosh. We just did this major Garmin project on the panel of Skyhawk, and we use that thing for cross countries and IFR constantly. So we're actually in the middle of a long trip right now. Chelsea and I are just sitting right there. We flew up here to Oshkosh. That's going to be the next big project. We had a very eventful arrival. My seat came loose in flare, and she still nailed it right past the yellow dot, and it was all good. But we're going to edit that, and we're about to do a big trip that includes some international travel. We're actually leaving here and going to the north, and we're just going to do a ton of filming with these avionics and do lots and lots of IFR. Kind of what Jason said too, I'm trying to get back to my roots a little bit and go back to sharing these kind of technical tidbits of IFR flying and talking on the radios, procedures, checklists. I'm very passionate about checklists. I actually wrote a checklist in FSO recently. And I want to start making a lot more content that's kind of centered around that while also showing off the need for where we're going.
I'd like to add something else that we have in the works. It's a pretty big trip to the Bahamas, and I'd like to share how to get there, on the procedures who you need to talk to, and the forms that you have to complete, and so on and so forth. So I think it's going to be interesting.
Wow, well, lots of exciting stuff in the works for y'all. Thank y'all so much for joining us today. We just give them a big round of applause.